We've got a really interesting panel coming up now. Is ads as playing experiences? Yeah, it sounds quite interesting. So Dave is going to be presenting that. Dave Bradley of Steel Media. And if you want to come up and find your panelists and. Oh, what's that? Okay, fantastic. Thanks very much to Oleg again.
Thanks. Hello, everyone. Hello, how you doing? My name is Dave Bradley. I'm the COO of Steel Media, so I look after the websites and events. We've got a panel here to end our Ad Insights track before we move on to the growth track. So I'd like to welcome back to the stage Munib from AudioMob, and also I believe we're going to be joined by Damla from AppNava. Is Damla in the audience? Perhaps not. The third person. No, I'll tell you what, we'll start here. Perhaps you can drop a message to the team and see if, because I think there's another person supposed to be joining us, but we'll start anyway. So I will take a seat here. Just to let everyone know who maybe joined before we started, we're running about 20 minutes behind on this stage, so don't be afraid if this runs a little bit longer than you expected. Okay. Hello, can you still hear me? Oh, jolly good. Thank you, everyone. So we are going to end the Ad Insights track here at Pocket Gamer Connects Jordan by talking about selecting the right ad solution for your game. In this session, we're going to be talking about the types of advertising and monetization options that are available to game developers. We'll talk about some of the trends as well and discuss what's hot in the world of in-game advertising and offer some advice from our speakers to the audience looking for the best solutions to suit their games. We'll leave some time for questions, and I also want to remind you, I can see some people are using them, but like a lot of the conference, we'll be talking in English, but there are headsets there if you'd like a translation from our friends in the corner there, so you can do that. Chaps, shall we get going?
Yeah, sure.
Great. So firstly, I'd like Oleg and Munib to introduce themselves and just in a few words reintroduce your companies for people who didn't see your talks earlier. Oleg, do you want to start us off?
Yes, I'll do it twice last 30 minutes, but I'm Oleg Shlyamovych. I'm CEO of PSV Group and Clever Ad Solution. This company is keen on programmatic ads monetization. So we are maximizing ads revenue from classical ad solution.
Great, thank you. And Munib?
So I'm Munib, head of gaming partnerships at AudioMob. AudioMob is actually pioneer of in-game audio ads. Oh, it's working. Okay, thank you. So yeah, I'll go again. Munib, head of gaming partnerships from AudioMob. AudioMob is actually pioneer of in-game audio ads. We help publisher monetize a new source of revenue by providing in-game audio ads. And we'll have a few questions about that. I had a talk earlier, so we'll talk in more detail.
Perfect.
Thanks.
No, thank you very much. So let's get started. For the benefit of the developers in the audience then, let's just start very briefly by just cataloging some of the main advertising solutions that people have available to them. I don't want to put words in your mouth, but of course there's the traditional banners, there's video ads, there's the type of audio ads that you do. Oleg, you just did some on your panel there, but maybe we've had some changes since you spoke. Let's just get us started. What is the least people should know about advertising if they're working on their first game? What kind of ads are available to them?
If we are speaking about classical solution, yes, we don't need, as for me, if you are making the first game, you don't need to reinvent the wheel.
Right.
So if you're keen in ads monetization, your main solution should be rewarded, interstitial, and probably banners for some type of ads. If you are creating apps, you shouldn't forget about native solution. Mm-hmm. Regarding special new formats like app open and rewarded interstitial, I think this is a cheat from AdMob. Actually, if we're speaking about rewarded interstitial, it's still interstitial which is packed in other side. So AppNava can, game developer cannot mediate it. So AppNava can have cold auction without competitors. In this case, of course, I recommend to create the same thing as rewarded interstitial on your side and use a classical rewarded video for this case. Regarding AppOpen, it's classical interstitial which appears when your app is open. If you are using AppNava, your ECPM is twice less than even AppNava interstitial. So my recommendation is to, if you are using AppNava, write adapter to make it interstitial, or try to A/B test Cleverhead solution or Max, where these formats are available and where they are mediated. It's very important to mediate this format. In this case, you will triple your ECPMs and revenue.
That's interesting. Thank you. I'll come to Munib next. And yeah, while we're just introducing the ad landscape, what are the basic types of ads that our audience should be aware of?
So I think traditionally there are few main formats: the video, rewarded video, banners, display, interstitial. I think it's been there for quite some time. You know, generally a lot of game developers, publishers are aware of that, provided by Google or Max or whatnot. Also, I think you know, there are new formats coming up such as audio, right, playable ads or whatnot. So I'm not sure if there are more follow-up questions on that.
Oh, there will be.
Okay.
There will be, definitely. So, on the new formats, we'll definitely talk about those. But I'm going to stay with you for a moment. Are there any ad types that players actually like? Like, traditionally, you might think that play interrupts the game, or that people, they put up with the existence of ads to have the free games. But is there any evidence that players respond well to ads?
So actually, of course, I'll be biased and I'm going to say audio ads.
That's okay, you can promote your own product.
But no, it's just very, very intuitive. You know, the reason I kind of joined, so I worked in traditional monetization with another ad exchange before joining AudioMob. And then I saw a lot of these publishers, they were monetizing, but it's not very user-centric.
Right.
Whereas audio ads, it's very intuitive, and I was surprised to see that no one else was doing it before AudioMob started that. So it's very user-centric, and that's why we haven't done any specific studies, but what we see from our case studies for advertisers is that there's really high engagement rate, and also no retention damage, which kind of you know, justifies that notion that audio ads are actually liked by users as well. However, it's interesting. I think we can potentially do some case studies on that, doing actual user A/B testing or whatnot, and publish that in the coming months.
That's interesting. Thank you. So we're welcoming Damla to the stage. Hello. How are you?
How are you?
Yeah, all right, thank you. Okay, can we hear you? Okay, your mic's on. We were just sort of talking about the types of user-centric ads. But before we go on, please introduce yourself.
Okay, of course. Hi everyone and welcome. I'm Damla. I'm the CEO of AppNava. We're mostly doing the data science solution for the mobile games, and we try to optimize your game depending on the different player segments. And if you need more information, we can talk later, actually.
Yeah, brilliant. I'll make sure that everyone knows they can catch up with you all later on. We're just, and again, I see, Damla, you've just arrived. We're running a little bit, sort of 15 minutes behind on this stage, so we've got another half an hour of this panel to talk before we move on, so we're okay. I'll come to you with this question then, Damla. We were talking about types of ads that players actually like. Obviously, ads are trying to sell people things, and they, you know, traditionally maybe they intrude in the game in some way. There's interstitials that Oleg spoke about, but Munib was just introducing the idea of audio ads as something that people are quite happy with. I remember before Mintergrill talking about how users actually quite like rewarded ads, rewarded videos. What's your experience? Can ads be a pleasant experience for players?
Yeah, actually there is no one single answer for this one. Like I'm sure that everyone likes the different game genres. Is the ads like that? Some people prefer the rewarding ads, and some people prefer the interstitials. Actually, we try different things for the different games, for different segments. Sometimes they like to watch interstitial. Sometimes they don't like. At this point, we're changing the strategy. Yeah, important thing is that detecting their favorite as actually. Yeah.
Okay, interesting. And Oleg, back to you. You've spoken a lot about from the developer's perspective, A/B testing and what they can do to integrate ads in their games. From the user experience, is there a type of ad that can ads be pleasurable for gamers?
Actually, I think no. When we are speaking about, I would want to repeat, when we are speaking about game development business, we are speaking about business, not about games. Where if I want to create interesting game, and if I want to get 5-star rating, it should be free, it should have no paywall and had no advertisement. And I will definitely have great user review and ratings.
However.
Yes, but I want to eat, my programmers want to eat, I want to have money, I want to sit here, I want to pay to the hotel and do a lot of things. That's why we are speaking that gaming is a business. So our goal is to create and manage ads that not affect user engagement not too much.
Right.
And in this case, Google had launched some tests which they added rewarded videos in some games which had no ads before, so they had only in-app monetizations. And when they run tests, they got not only ADRPU increase, but even the average daily revenue per paying user has increased insignificantly. So this means that even paying users are agreed to watch some rewarded ads to get some extra rewards. But if they have a button just to obtain reward without watching it, they of course will press that button.
Right. That's interesting. Let's talk about sort of new monetization methods and new ad formats. We've got Munib here talking about audio ads, but also there's things like it seems to me a little bit of a growth in kind of ambient environmental ads in games as well. And perhaps there's other things coming down the road towards us as well. In a recent survey on pocketgamer.biz, the survey said that it was of developers. There were maybe a few hundred developers surveyed, and almost half said that the thing that was interested in them most is new types of adverts in the next year ahead. So can we talk a little bit about what the opportunities are there? Why is it so important for developers to explore different types of ads in the game and keep their eyes on what's coming next? Munib, I'm going to come to you because this is kind of your area, but I'm interested to hear what the panel thinks about the trends that are coming towards us and why developers are so interested in them.
So I think what, I personally, talking to a lot of different publishers, noted is that sometimes they're kind of peaking how they're monetizing their games. Because all these different networks are connected to each other. So end of the day, it's like, one network buying through different sources the same inventory. And it's not leading to really optimized kind of revenue sometimes for the publishers. So they're looking for new ways where it's not cannibalizing their existing monetization, but it could be a new way to add monetization, new source of revenue. So that's one that they want. They're open to testing out something which is not intrusive, which has no retention impact, and which is what we see actually with AudioMob and audio ads. And that's why they're very open. No retention damage, new source of revenue, very user-centric. and then secondly, given the state of economy as well, some from the advertiser side, they want it to be really, really effective how they are spending their revenue dollars. So any formats that show really good engagement, really good results, are going to be the winners during that time. And fortunately, with AudioMob, we do see that our advertisers are very happy. We did some case studies, really good engagement rates as well. So that's why we see very good traction on both sides, advertisers and publishers. And needless to say, as user, you have I think that was your previous question. As a user, actually, and a mobile gamer myself, if you're playing the same game every single day, after some time you kind of get bored of the game sounds, SFX sounds, and the music. So if there's something contextual, engaging, exciting, playing in the background, it kind of enhances the user experience as well. So yeah.
And I guess people are used to listening to the radio and that kind of things
exactly,
as well, right?
Exactly.
Damla, I'll come to you. One thing that Munib said that I want to come back to later as well is about adding new types of advertising, because I think we can talk about a hybrid approach. But Damla, same question. It seems that developers are very keen to explore these new types of ad formats. What's your experience of the sort of the changing trends in types of ads, and what should our audience know about them?
Previously, most of our casual game developer clients reject the showing interstitial because they think that it ruins their game, actually destroy their reputation and some kind of a KPIs. And when time change and also thanks to the iOS 15 plus and everything is changed. It's not easy to acquire the right person to your game. It started to be you are acquiring quite a different user base, and you have to monetize all of them. At this point, they started to show more interstitial because in their game there is also in-app purchaser, rewarded video watchers, and also interstitial lovers. At this point, they started to change their strategy and they start to implement interstitial for some specific players groups. And there's no any problem on that, actually. If you love to in-app purchases, they never seen interstitial. They do in-app purchases. If they love watching rewarded videos, they continue to watching rewarded videos. But the players do none of them. We prefer to show them interstitial to monetize them too. At this point, studios are more familiar with integrating the all monetization solution together. There's no only one perfect way to monetize players, actually.
Yeah. That's a very good point. And actually on that, if there's no one perfect way to monetize, is there an advantage to always thinking in hybrid terms? Should a developer always be thinking that I'll have a range of different ad solutions and maybe in-app purchases as well? Oleg, should everyone here be thinking in a kind of hybrid terms in terms of their advertising?
Of course, hybrid. Actually, if we will speak regarding developers, yes, I would like to mention the old Henry Ford. Oh, yeah. If I asked what are people looking for, I should sell faster horses, but not the cars. In this way, yes, of course, the future is hybrid. But from other side, you should understand that a classical solution bring you 90% of revenue. Even now, in-app purchase market is 3 times bigger than in-app advertisement.
Right. Okay. Interesting.
So if we are speaking about the scaling, it's the biggest challenge to all studios. You should try to find any cent, because any cent is very important regarding your LTVs and CPIs. Yes, you should try to use any new formats, but not to spend more than 10% time for investigating this. Okay. Also, I recommend to try to use even audio ads to advertise your ads. it is a good experience. Maybe for your audience it will be good enough. We don't know what we shall, how it will affect before A/B test. You should A/B test everything.
Yeah. In fact, if you saw Oleg's talk before this panel, that was a key theme that you had there. I'm going to come to Damla at the end there with just skipping ahead to another question. Let's flip it around. We've talked about the needs of developers. We've talked about the needs of the audience. What about the brands? What about the advertisers? Are there types of ads that work particularly well for advertising clients? How do we serve their needs when it comes to what works best?
Actually, it depends on time to time genres again. Like if it's like some sports genre, they can use some banner method too. Like let's say there's like a basketball game, and there's like in real life when you're watching any game, you always watch ads too, like some famous sports brands or other things. We can do similar things in the game too. If it is like the football game, basketball game, or racing game, you can implement specific brands on your game, and as maybe a banner you can choose, or you can design your game depending on this special advertisement too. It's not quite new actually, but they started to implement it also. It's a different kind of advertisement too. Not rewarding one, not interstitial kind, it's a brand integrated system.
That's interesting. And you've just made me think, you, in your talk about Audio Mob, you showed us some examples of games with the brand that was being advertised seemed very specific to those examples in the game. This must be something that you think about. And how does that mean that the Audio Mob ads are all direct sales specifically to brands? I mean, when you're automating the ad process, how do you make sure that they are contextually appropriate for the games that they're in?
Very good question. So actually we do it both ways. So we have direct sales team talking to the brands directly, and then we kind of set up PMPs, right, direct deals where we see, okay, these games are really good for these particular brands and what they want to achieve and target. And then it's done programmatically, the buying happens programmatically, but it's very direct. And then, there are the other kind of, some brands they are not really care about. So also, so those are filling the gaps really. But most of the time we're talking to the brands, trying to ensure it really makes sense for the publisher, for the brand, connecting the dots. So we're doing the heavy lifting behind that. And also, thanks to Oleg as well, he mentioned user acquisition, so for sure gonna get him drink later on. But it's actually, kind of very interesting new format which advertisers are liking, and also the engagement rates are really good. So
That's good. Just to warn everyone, I want to leave some time for questions. I've got a couple more of my own, so in about 5 minutes I'm going to see if anyone else has some questions for our experts. So if you have been inspired by anything you've seen, be thinking about what you might ask. Folks, I want to just skip ahead and ask a question about data. Now, so I'm going to come to you first, Oleg, because you gave us lots to think about in your talk. The big news in the last couple of years was the Apple cracking down the IDFA change. Of course, now there's the new ATT process. I see that we've seen that have an effect on the ad market. Facebook seems to have suffered. I read recently that TikTok has reduced its worldwide revenue targets as a result of the absence of data. Can we talk a little bit about that? What has happened? What's been the impact on game developers of this change in data?
It depends. It depends. Actually, we are speaking about games which were focused for in-app purchases. They were affected greatly, but not from revenue side because they were keen on in-app purchases, but on user acquisition side because it limits their possibility to acquire only high-quality users. But from other side, hyper-casual and, for example, kids game has very good have very good mood, actually, because now advertisers doesn't know who is that user, and they should to go to CPI campaigns.
Right.
CPI campaigns means much more revenue for hyper casual and kids developers, because they are non-paying users, but they are showing an ad. In this kind, your auction is more hot, your bids are higher. So for some segments, some verticals, it grows. For other, it's fall down. It's normal. It's life.
Thanks. A very, very good answer. Munib, do you have a take on this? Is it impacted on your business at all? I guess it's a slightly different approach, but yeah.
So yeah, I keep on saying all roads lead to audio ads and audio mob. It's just that, for us, it's not that important, and not for our advertisers.
Yeah.
So we, from the very get-go, we didn't need to track. We didn't need any IDFAs or device IDs or whatnot. I mean, generally, just like radio ads, it could be generic. It could be sometimes targeted, where we just need what kind of game it is, what kind of context. At a very high level, if we can get certain information such as high-level demographic of the game users, what kind of age group or gender or whatnot. So that's all our advertisers sometimes need to know, so that they're like, okay, if it's a puzzle game and it's something about Pampers campaign, something of that sort. A lot of female users play that, so so generally it doesn't really impact us, and I don't see it impacting us. In fact, anything, it's just gonna lead more players and publishers coming towards audio ads.
That's interesting, and I should say there is still quite a lot of data still available, certainly at the broad level, like you were saying, for gender. Damla, I don't know whether you want to weigh in on this topic before I take questions from the audience. Has the removal of the IDFA tag and the subsequent ATT, Apple ATT, is that something that we should be aware of as developers when it comes to advertising?
Yes, exactly. They changed everything, like the last year. They ruined the whole mobile industry, especially for the iOS users, because most of our clients stopped user acquisition for the iOS because they couldn't target the good players. They faced with the high CPI, and they ruined the whole game, actually. Then, of course, they have a solution like the conversion value, update conversion value. Most of the products start to solve that problem. We are still working on it, not solved fairly, actually. When we about to solve about, they changed the strategy, actually, thanks to them. And we try to find solution again. But on this way, we started to monetize everyone. If we couldn't select the right place for our game, we should accept them all, and we monetize them all. It's, again, detect the player segment whenever they come to your game. Like in their first session, detect your player, know your player. If you know your player well, then you offer them what they want. They want the in-app purchase, they want to continue with the rewarded ads or interstitial or banners. Just know your player, then give them what they want. And this is the strategy to monetize your game, until we solve the iOS problem or privacy things.
That's great, and I'm glad you said it like that as well. I've always lived by the maxim that if you find out what your customers want and try your best to give them that, that's the best way. Do we have any questions from the audience? I can go on. Alec, brilliant question. I think we have a mic coming to you, which will be handy because then we can, the translators can hear you and so on. Thank you. Oh, not quite. I think it's off.
Hello.
There we go.
Okay. Hi, how are you all? Thank you for your speech. It's amazing to have you today. Actually, I came across something that you mentioned, I think Mr. Munib and Ali, which is the ANRs and crashes, I think. We recently have faced this issue, and we tracked it down to all of the SDKs. We only came to the monetization and ads systems. So, is there anything technical that you can share with us as developers in terms of ANRs and crashes? Is there something that we can do to solve that issue, since it affects the overall, let's say, equality of product in terms of Google Play and iOS? So, thank you.
I'll try to answer. As for me, my specialty is engineer minus programmer, something like that. But last few years, I'm not not in development team. But actually, the main idea is to select and specify streams, and you should understand which ad network should work in which streams. Actually, the best idea is to come to us after the session and speak more directly, because it's a specific technical question which I'm afraid will be not interesting to majority of attenders.
Okay, very specialised. I should definitely say that our experts here will be around all weekend and are available on the Meet to Match platform, so you can track them down that way. Damla or Munib, would either of you like to answer Malik's question as well?
Sure. Actually, I think for us, it's very, we have been integrating with a lot of premium publishers, a lot of games, so no issue at all, actually. It's negligible pretty much. Yeah.
So, thank you. I just, maybe I'll speak to Oli about that. So,
Perfect.
Thank you.
Thank you. Does anyone else? Oh my gosh, loads of questions. So one on the left here. Thank you. We might not get to the rest of mine.
Hi.
Hello.
Very amazing insights. As someone who plays the games, to know how to put the right injection or add injection point, I want to learn from a psychology point of view, what is the best practices? You mentioned gender and age, and you mentioned, for example, the type of games. What is the best practices based on the huge amount of genres we have?
Big question. Do you want to?
Big question.
Actually, Damla, do you want to dive in there?
Yeah, of course. It is not just related to genres, genders, or other things. Okay, let's say that you have the sports game. It is each sort of find players organically your game because they want to play some sports game and they search on it, they find you and they come to you. It is good for organic players. But if this is not organic, it's inorganic, and you are finding them on ad network, they don't know. They just saw your maybe advertisement and click on it and come to your game. And then they realize that the players are not matched with your game. Then they quit your game actually. At this point, you should detect them. They will continue or not. If they not continue, you should show them a different advertisement strategy. If they continue, you should apply different strategy. If they continue on your game, if they do in-app purchase in your game, you shouldn't show interstitial to them because they don't like it. They want to keep ongoing on your game, want to do some in-app purchases, but if they don't like it, they will just quit your game in a day. It is okay to show interstitial actually. There's not only one single function to solve this problem actually. It's like a complex, but first you detect your player's type. Is good for your game or not good? It's my idea actually, if you want to add on it.
Yeah, I think it's for us, it's just generally for advertisers. They want to target certain kind of audiences at certain times. So yeah, I think we haven't taken very deep dive into that sort of data because generally with audio ads, we didn't see any retention damage. So it's like users are not rejecting the audio ads, so we didn't feel the need to deep dive and kind of troubleshoot that issue. But yeah, for us, it's not that important. Certain times, if it's there, if that sort of data at a high level by the developer, it's good to have.
Okay. You mentioned about the inorganic. What about the organic? The daily active users, how do we keep them with the type of ads we have?
Repeat again, please.
You mentioned the inorganic, like the paid users? How do we go with the already existing players? How do we make sure that they are retained with the type of ads?
Actually, you have them. They are continuing to playing your game. Most probably, they love your game, and they are continuing to playing the game. At this stage, maybe you can predict their next days, like how many days will continue to play, or did they before in-app purchases. Depending on this kind of information for your current players, you can apply the different strategy. At this point, if you don't decide like that, doing some A/B tests, they separate them, apply some strategy for some group of players, and then check the result. Is affecting your metrics. Maybe you lost the balance in your game. When you increasing your income, maybe you destroy your retention rate. It's the best things to do A/B tests for different strategy to find.
May I add something? There are few things which I would like to add. I think it will be not a bit, but
We've got a couple of minutes. So
okay. So the first thing which I want to say, speaking and generally, it's not 100%, but my advice is to limit rewarded ads from 5 till 10 rewards per user daily. This is the first part. The second part, if your game, if your user engagement is more than 1 hour, don't overuse interstitials.
Right.
This, you will probably have more high average daily revenue per user, but your LTV of 60th day will be impacted negatively.
Yeah,
so you will lose in regarding high long tail. So my recommendation is, of course, to A/B test, but don't forget 2 simple rules. Interstitial for hyper casual and short games, and limit rewarded ads up to 5-10 per day, because we can show much more, but very nasty thing, ECPMTK will negatively affect your revenue. Revenue of 10th rewarded video is 4 or 5 times less than reward from the first one. That's why my recommendation is to limit it.
Great, thank you. Well, look, we'll stop there. We're running a sort of 15-20 minutes behind on this stage because we started late, but what I suggest is, if you have more questions about this subject matter, that you track our excellent guests down outside in the venue or on Meet to Match or around the place tomorrow. In the meantime, please let's give Oleg, Munib and Damla a round of applause. Thank you very much, folks.
Thank
and we'll
you
move
very
on.
much.